Jubilee is a classic example of a mighty oak tree that grows from an acorn. It actually started 25 years ago. I think I would make it around 1978. Any institution that's been in existence for 25 years probably has numerous accomplishments that it could cite. But I think that one of Jubilee's greatest accomplishments was its 2-year study of the W.E.B. Du Bois project. The study of W.E.B. Du Bois was a total immersion on the part of the students at Jubilee. During our first visit to formally connect with the town of Great Barrington, Du Bois's home, the students had an opportunity to meet with and interview Dr. David Du Bois, who is W.E.B. Du Bois' stepson.
School undertook this project with the intention of exposing these young children to an important aspect of their heritage, and that is life and works of W.E.B. Du Bois. It makes me feel very proud, of course, but it also makes me feel somewhat annoyed that so little of this nature is being done now for our children.
Following that meeting, the students visited the gravesite of Du Bois's wife and his son. That first annual tribute and celebration to the life of W.E.B. Du Bois was held in June of 2001. We continued on with our study here in Philadelphia and planned for our second annual tribute and celebration for Du Bois. And what was most incredible, I think, was not only did we create an annual tribute to Du Bois and partner with the local community in honor of Du Bois, but having laid the groundwork for something even more incredible that anyone at the time could hardly even begin to perceive.
Conceived in the minds and hearts of the staff and students at the Jubilee School in Philadelphia. Today is the birthday. We have given birth to this program that they started. Hopefully this is going to be an annual event, one that I feel is long overdue, because Dr. Du Bois is Great Barrington's native son.
I'm delighted to be here on the occasion of the school in Philadelphia, the Jubilee School in Philadelphia, and the project of bringing these students to Great Barrington to revel in their legacy, to learn their history and its contributions to the history of this country. I was delighted to hear them sing the national anthem of the Republic of South Africa in the language South African.
One of the most fascinating aspects of the Du Bois project was that it was a school-wide curriculum focus. By that I mean that the students, all of the students from pre-K to 6th grade were involved in studying some component, some aspect of Du Bois's life.
W.E.B. Du Bois was the editor of a magazine called The Crisis. There were many articles in The Crisis about what was happening in the world of African Americans. There were articles about the NAACP. There were also poems, book reviews, music reviews, and articles about education and civil rights. Our class edited a magazine like Crisis. Our magazine is called The Fight for Justice, and the subtitle is The Future of Our History. We used what we learned over the years about civil rights, segregation, war and peace, and famous people who changed the world, like W.E.B. Du Bois. We were inspired as writers to make our own magazine. We asked other classes in our school to write articles for our magazine. We also asked students from the Du Bois College House at the University of Pennsylvania to write articles. We have book reviews, poetry, articles about education, the NAACP, and segregation. Our magazine talks about the future of our history and how we can make the world a better place.
The younger kids found early on that there weren't very many children's books written about the life of Du Bois. So in response to that, they each wrote and illustrated their own children's book about Du Bois's life.
What we're doing is that we're making a book for children to read it, because out here today, lots of kids, they don't have children books about W.E.B. Du Bois.
In 1896, W.E.B. Du Bois studied a black neighborhood in Philadelphia. He asked black people about how they were living in their community. He went door to door and asked people questions about their neighborhood and their attitudes and about jobs and education. Last year, when I was in 5th grade, my class did a survey. We wanted to do a survey just like W.E.B. Du Bois did. We did the survey because we thought our neighborhood was in bad condition, and we thought a lot of people were lazy and weren't getting education and weren't going to work, and we thought they were like couch potatoes. They sit home all day, eat, and watch TV. So we wanted to know if that was true or false. So my class and I, we made up a survey, we made up questions to write for the survey, and then we printed it on a computer and copied it, and we all had a couple of surveys. Here are some questions that we did. How much TV do you watch per day? Do you own your own business? If you rent your home or apartment, would you treat it differently if you owned it? Do you have any problems with your neighborhood? So when we read them, we thought that that wasn't really true what we were saying. People weren't lazy, people weren't couch potatoes, people weren't sitting home all day watching TV. They were actually getting educations and going to colleges, and they were doing well and successful in life. So so when we found out we were wrong, we had positive answers about this community.
This project I always thought was destined for greatness, and as it turned out, 18 months after the first tribute to W.E.B. Du Bois, the students were invited to Great Barrington to open up a major concert at the Mahawi Theater that featured the Holmes Brothers and the Blind Boys of Alabama.
We are going to do a play by Dudley Randall called Booker T and W.E.B. It seems to me, said Booker T, it shows a lot of mighty cheek to study chemistry and Greek. When Mr. Charlie needs a hand to beg cotton on his land, and when Mrs. Ann looks for a cook, why stick your nose inside a book?
I don't agree, said W.E.B. If I should have the drive to seek knowledge in chemistry or Greek, I'll do it. Charlie and Miss can look another place for a hand and cook. Some men rejoice in skill in hand, and some in cultivating land. But there are others who maintain the right to cultivate the brain.
It seems to me, said Booker T, that all folks have missed the boat, who shout about the right to vote and spend vain days and sleepless nights in the uproar over civil rights. Just keep your mouth shut. Do not grouse, but work and save and buy a house.
I don't agree, said W.B.
For what can property avail if dignity and justice fail? Unless you help us make the laws, they'll steal your house with trumped-up claws. A rope as tight, a fire as hot, no matter how much cash you've got. Speak soft and try your little plan. But as for me, I'll be a man.
It seems to me, said Booker T. I don't agree, said W.E.B.
I'm going to do a poem called
Mother to Son by Langston Hughes. Well, son, I tell you, life for me ain't been no crystal stair. It had tacks in it, and splinters, and boards torn up, and places with no carpet on the floor, bare. But all the time, I has been a climbing on, and reaching landings, and turning corners, and sometimes going in the dark where there ain't been no light. So boy, don't you turn back. Don't you sit down on them steps 'cause you find this kinda hard. Don't you fall down, for I still going, honey. I still climbing. And life for me ain't been no crystal stair.
The accusers' names nobody will remember, but history records Du Bois by Langston Hughes. If W.E.B. Du Bois goes to jail, a wave of wonder will sweep around the world. Europe will wonder, and Africa will wonder, and Asia will wonder, and no judge or jury will be able to answer the questions behind their wonder. The banner of American democracy will be lowered another notch, particularly in the eyes of the darker peoples of the earth. The hearts of millions will be angered and perturbed, stilled or strengthened. They will not believe that it is right for Dr. Du Bois is more than a man. He is all that he has stood for over 80 years of life. The things that he has stood for are what means a people of good will the world around desire too. A world of decency, of no nation over another nation, of no color line, no more colonies, no more poverty, of education for all, of freedom and love and friendship and peace among men. For as long as I can remember, Dr. Du Bois has been writing and speaking and working for these things. He began way before I was born to put reason above passion, tolerance above prejudice, well-being above poverty, wisdom above ignorance, cooperation above strife, equality above Jim Crow, and peace above the bomb. Dr. Du Bois is the Dean of Negro Scholars, but not only is he a great Negro, he is a great American and one of the leading men of our century. At the age of 83, he is still a wellspring of knowledge, a fountain of courage, and a skyrocket for the great dreams of all mankind. Somebody in Washington wants to put Dr. Du Bois in jail. Somebody in France wants to put Voltaire in jail. Somebody in Franco, Spain said Lorca, the greatest poet, to death before a firing squad. Somebody in Germany under Hitler burned the books, drove Thomas May into exile, and then the lead Jewish scholars to the gas chamber. Somebody in Greece long ago gave Socrates the hemlock to drink. Somebody at Golgotha created a cross, and somebody drove the nails into the hands of Christ. Somebody spat upon his garments. No one remembers their name.
Sweet the sound, sweet the sound, save the rain. I was lost, but now I found. Was blind, but now I see. Was blind, but